Jesus Christ, JC, are the initials for Julius Caesar, or Kaiser.
Hi. We're talking about the Lord and Savior of Rome, which was actually Julius Caesar. He was sacrificed. He was killed by the senators, among them Brutus, Marcus Junius Brutus from the Juni family.
Now!
We must realize that Gaius Julius Caesar was from the Juni clan, which claimed descendant to Venus. Basically, the Romans, very highly superstitious, were extremely tolerant of all religions and all gods. They adopted also the religion of the Etruscans after they conquered Etruria. The Romans were highly civilized, great minds. Julius Caesar was also the head priest in those days when he was alive, and which the head priest, the title is in Latin Pontifex Maximus, and Pontifex Maximus means great builder of bridges between the gods and men. But regardless, we know for a fact that Julius Caesar was actually considered a god, and there was a head priest, because in Rome, in the Roman religion, there were many different gods, and each god had a priest. Well, since Julius Caesar was in life considered divine, he had to have a priest to worship him. Guess who he was? He was Marcus Antonius. Mark Antony became the priest of Julius Caesar. When, after Caesar was sacrificed, the passion of Julius Caesar, there was 20 stab wounds, and the god was then cremated, and his wax image put in a tropaeum. Marcus Antonius, being a priest of Julius Caesar, was given the great oration of the Lord and Savior that was sacrificed. And he was giving his big speech. He was pointing to a wax image that was hanged on a tropaeum. Well, a tropaeum is a cross. It's a big wood stockade. I imagine that they put Caesar with the arms extended, not Caesar, but the wax image of him, and wearing his crown of acantha leaves, the thorn bush, symbolizing Apollo, the sun god. That's just logical. And we can see Augustus later wearing the same crown. And he had his red cape. The red cape was a symbolic of the Etruscan kings, which actually the Romans despised. But nevertheless, as a god, he was wearing that. Guess what also was wearing? All the patricians wore red shoes. Guess who wears red shoes today? The other builder of bridges, the pontiff, Pope. His dust is an incarnation of a Roman emperor, of Julius Caesar. But nevertheless, Julius Caesar was he was being cremated. his wax image was put in a tropaeum and a cross for everybody to see, their Lord and Savior. Incense was being poured, everything. Mark Antony, his priest, was given the oration, funeral oration. And then his body was being cremated. After people were throwing their jewelry, throwing wood, throwing everything in the pyre.
During this cremation of Caesar, his body would not burn, so people kept throwing chairs, tables and everything they could in to make sure that the body burned. And eventually the body burned, but it took a very long time. So this goes to show that Caesar was sacred. He was not normal. It was something else.
Caesar was a sacred person. What do you imagine the people of Rome, the people that love their God, that is being sacrificed, he gave his blood for them? What happened with the ashes? Simmering ashes. Don't you think these people are going to grab the ashes that represented a God and put them on their heads? In my view, that's where the Catholic Church Ash Wednesday come from. These people in 2056 years ago were actually going all over the place collecting souvenirs from the god, relics from the god Caesar. We went over to his house, they went over to places all over the place. It was a mass confusion in those days. As a matter of fact, Mark Antony had to hide. But then he came over and pointed out to the regicides, to the people that actually killed Julius Caesar.
If you go back to Etruscan times, the Caesars were Kaiser, and the original so-called JC was actually a Kaiser.
I am Lat Centenate Kaiser. I was one of those who kept ancient teachings. All the existent appears, becomes old, and dies in order to be born again. People, civilizations, towns, everything has its own time. Our time came, and we silently went away. Our language was forgotten. There is hardly anyone who recalls the names of our gods, but we shared all our knowledge with Rome, and turned into its part. As a result, ancient Rome became the center of the entire Western world. While memory about us, it will not disappear.
Here is the god Aeneas, the Greek, carrying a tropaeum, a cross symbol. Here is Denarius of Caesar, showing a tropaeum, a cross. Here again is the cross symbol. It's a victory symbol. Here is a Darius tomb, and look at the columns are cross shape, symbol of the sun. This is a Sia from the South American West natives, symbol of the sun. Here is a Chinese 3,000-year-old symbol of the sun. It's a swastika. Here is the 4,000-year-old worshipping of the sun with the four elements with the human heads. Here is Horus the sun, representing the spirit world. Here is a soul. A soul is air.
This information is being highly censored, so appreciate what you get here, because you're not going to get it anywhere else, and you can go and search for it now and you realize that it isn't anywhere else at all. So yeah, I just thought I'd just leave it there, and the rest of the information you can have a look and see what I've provided and enjoy the show.